With the recent expansion in Bunyan's Rest, residents of Pine Harbor County began sighing in relief as city councilmen continued to remedy the economic crisis. However, progress being made by the city councilmen was still underway, and the county itself still had a long way to go as the general wealth of the area still continued to bleed red, negative numbers, and the population spike in the county still continued to grow, now with nearly 16,000 people moving into the region each month. Heyo and welcome to another episode of Pine Harbor County, where we will use and abuse the new operating district mechanic that was introduced in Cities Skylines 2. In the last episode, we played around a lot with the new parks and the detailer's patch, as well as the new surface painter tool, and created this, amongst other things. But this is probably my favorite thing, because this is probably my favorite custom park now. And the sight lines are just a little laggy, but the sightlines are so good. Just so good. So if you happen to miss that episode and want to check out how we made this park and the areas that came to life with it, please click on the info card above or check out the entire Pine Harbor County playlist in the description below. This week, we are going to move away from the high-rises and work on a small suburban expansion next to Pinecrest Junction. We're continuing to decrease our deficit after the Economy 2.0 patch, so our goals for today are first to continue to grow Pine Harbor County, second, increase our industrial production and generate additional tax revenue, and third, work within the constraints of our existing map tiles. After all, if we're going to pay for these tiles, we might as well put them to use. After all that, we may even get to explore some of the additional assets that were provided to us in the detailer's patch. So be sure to stick around until the end to see those new assets in action. So with all that said, let's jump right on into it. If you've been following along with Season 1 of Build&Beautify, then you may have noticed that one of the first orders of business when it comes to constructing a new area in City Skylines is determining our road layout and abiding by road hierarchy. Today's not any different in regards to that, honestly. But what will be a little different today is that I want to try my hand at my very first diverging diamond interchange, and I honestly think this spot right here is going to be perfect right off of Interstate 5. I've never made one of these, so I'm very excited. Half the reason I'm going to give this a try is because the new road tools that we have in Cities Skylines 2 are just fantastic. So yeah, let's jump on into a time lapse and let's give this a bit of a try here. okay. That ended up being a little bit of a beast to construct, but I had some thoughts behind why I did what I did. For starters, I'm gonna just leave the naming for the highways as is. I do believe we're gonna be getting a feature soon where we can draw the length of a road and then rename it. This was a feature we had in Cities Skylines 1, and I feel like I remember reading somewhere that was coming soon. If I'm wrong and it's already out, just let me know down in the comments where we find that tool, so that I can take I-5 North and drag it all the way off the rest of the map. Now, let's kind of talk about what we constructed here. A little messy, I'll admit it, but this was also my first try, so I'm actually still really proud of how it came out. You will have noticed that I made some deliberate choices to elevate different parts of the road to decrease the amount of weaving. Normally in a diverging diamond, you have about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish, if I'm counting correct, weaving points. So I chose to increase the level of height on this road segment here that goes east to west so that we can, decrease those moments when they are intersecting with one another. And I kept the one going, I guess, west to east, kind of, sort of, lower. Once we have that ability to name the roads, I will probably come in and rename the exit numbers, probably just for all of our interchanges, honestly. And then, yeah, it's a little lumpy. It's a tad bit bumpy. It's definitely got some steep heights. Like this one that I'm definitely going to change. It's probably why I couldn't get it to upgrade roads, because I did upgrade everything so that I had lights. And I just did that because I just think it helps, even everything out a little bit. Connect, my man. If I do that. Okay, let's see if that actually just kind of fixed that there. So if I came in to light upgrades, and I just like turning on electricity because it's easier to see. Okay, there we go. Now we have better electricity movement. But yeah, I think in summary, this came out pretty good. I think the only thing that we'll have to remember after is making sure when we get down to this point, actually, I wonder if we can just draw in our larger arterial road now. Okay, there. That way, at least it's all then ready to go and connected for when we are ready to purchase these tiles. Because I do have intentions of purchasing that. I just, at this time, want to fix our deficit and not make it worse. So we should also be able to get rid of that. Yeah, so let me know down in the comments how you think this turned out. I definitely think it was pretty interesting for the first try. So yeah, so now that we have a point for the community to come in off the highway off of the Interstate 5, I also want to give the community an exit off of Interstate 7 here. And I think for this one, I just want to keep it simple because I'm not sure if we're going to build out here just yet. So what I'm going to do is come on in with that good old 6-lane road that we have started here and just draw it forward, just so I have a bit of a vantage point, or not a vantage point, but I guess an idea of how far I want this to go. We'll bring it right on up to the train track here. Because honestly, it will probably end up going over the train track at some point to connect into Woodbine. And then let's come in and just keep a really simple interchange here. I am a huge fan of this trumpet roundabout, especially when I'm not certain if I want to put anything on the other side. So let's just come on in here and see if we can pause the simulation and snuggle this bad boy right on in there. So actually, I think I'm going to pause and back this up here. I want to put this, I think, a little bit higher up. So let's do this again really quick. Perfect. There. These two interchanges here are already a little close for my preference, so this just kind of spaces it out a little bit more. Awesome. So we're beginning to shape up quite the nice little area for our community here. Let's come on in and finish up the road layout itself, just so we have our basic framework finished in general. Okay. I definitely got carried away there. So I moved this interchange on Interstate 7 again because I wanted it to line up a little bit better with the custom diverging diamond that we placed in. We also placed in a 4-lane connector road here, as I do have some intentions of getting a decent amount of specialized industry in here. And then this part right here was completely impulsive. It may or may not be a good idea, but my thoughts were, as everyone comes in off this interchange on I-5 here and enters the more rural area of Pinecrest Junction, they can then kind of continue on, hit this roundabout, and then head east, kind of back up whence it came. And I'm going to actually do something really, really quick here. I am going to come in with an asymmetrical road and just kind of have this make a little bit more sense there, at least in terms of lane mathematics. So anyway, continuing on ish. Continuing on ish. I just want to fix this last one because it's gonna drive me nuts. Yeah, okay. It's gonna have to stay. It's gonna have to be a little lopsided. Is it because this is a yep, it's a one-way road. That's why. There we go. Okay. We'll work with that for now. So as we continue up what is currently being called Garland Street, it will loop in to this new district here. And then come up on this area. Now, this is a little bit more impulsive, like I was mentioning. This is me recreating a little area that's actually in my hometown. We call it a roundabout because in a sense it is, but it's a triangle. So I don't know. I was driving through it the other day. I don't know. It's a little stressful to drive through because there's so much happening, but it kind of just prompted me to want to recreate it. It's beautiful in terms of that rural lifestyle that my hometown kind of has. But yeah, we'll see how well this holds up in traffic, because in all honesty, in my actual town, there is a bunch of, I guess what we would call mixed use zoning in Cities Skylines. We have a bunch of the mixed housing where there's a shop on the bottom and some apartments on top, give or take a few different buildings. And this area gets really busy on the weekends. Everyone's going to the diners, kind of walking around a park that, at least in my hometown, exists right here, and I'll probably recreate in City Skylines. But I'm lacking a gazebo, and I really want a gazebo. Anywho, moving on to this area here, this part was just impulsive because, I don't know, why not? I figured we can put some services in this area here, as it'll be a little bit closer to the downtown area. It also allows traffic to veer off from this main road here coming off the diverging diamond. So I think what's getting called Lake Street. It'll veer off onto Garland Street via Autumn Street. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop my impulsive building there for now. Before I continue on with this area, I want to take advantage of our little spot of fertile land here, since our production chain is really in demand for it. So in our production chain here, we have a massive deficit for our beverages, convenience foods, regular food, and textiles. So I want to start trying to import a little bit more of the goods that are needed to produce those to try to increase our business's profitability, which in return will increase the ability for the commercial zones to level up, giving us more tax and hopefully decreasing our hemorrhaging bank account here, which actually has gone down quite a bit, which is kind of nice. So because this area is kind of small, I doubt it's going to make a massive dent in that deficit, but I thought a little modular build might not be a bad idea to kind of play around with, especially since we just have done a whole lot of thick density and high rises. So let's jump on in and let's actually start with just a little bit of road. And I am going to keep just our natural resource info tab up just so I don't accidentally infringe on this area too much. And I think we are going to take our 4-lane road, probably extend this up just a wee bit. And then come down with just a 2-lane road to decrease the size. And how about we put a alleyway here, because I do want to get enough like a zonable building here, residential, as like the farmhouse to kind of tie in everything. And then just so we can really maximize some of the land, I just want to see what that looks like if you go from, yeah. It's such a harsh line when you go from an alleyway to a dirt road. So I think I'll just keep it like an alleyway for now, because I'm not a huge fan of that harsh line. What I do want to do is just curve that a little bit. So let's come in with a good old Cities Skylines 1 trick, and we'll draw a little square. So I have a 2x2 square on the inside. Delete all said roads, and then just come on in and curve it, making sure that we're 24 to 24 meters. There we go. Okay. And then I think I'll also just extend that just a little bit as well. And I think this should work as a general road frame just for now, so we can kind of snap in our industry. All right, now let's actually snap in the industry itself. And actually, I think I will extend this road just a little bit more, because I do think I want to get some chickens in here too. And since the chickens don't need the fertile land, I don't see a point in wasting that resource. It'd be more efficient to place the chickens, or the livestock, I guess, down at the end here, and then put grain, vegetables, and textiles up here. I'll probably just focus on the vegetables and the grains, because if we come back into our production tab, textiles have a big deficit, but I want to focus on convenience foods, and beverages first, and probably use another area for textiles. So let's start with some grain farming. There we go. Let's move on to adding in some vegetable farming now. So I think on this one, I'm going to pull a dirt road right up along the side of our fertile land. And then just for a little bit of activity and a little bit of decoration, I'm gonna just quickly run in some dirt roads through these spaces. I doubt many trucks will actually take it, but it'd be kind of cool if it did, because then it's gonna look like trucks going through the fields themselves. So because I want that visual, I will keep the fences, I think, very close to the roads here. All right, and then let's just do some final tucking, I guess, for a lack of better words, of the roads here so that everything is right up against these inner dirt roads. So that way we have that visual, hopefully that visual of trucks going through the farmlands, through the fields. Okay, so that gave us 3 vegetable farms, 2 grain farms. So I think we can get a couple of livestock farms right down into this area here. So I think I'm gonna want one right here maybe, and right here. So let's bring this in. Bring this road down is what I meant, I'm sorry. Okay, and then let's get that livestock farm right up against that. So we'll bring one road kind of out. pretty good amount of farmland. It also added, at level 1, we now have 11 jobs, 8 jobs, 14, 7, 20. Oh, that's nice. 12, 11, 17, 19. Perfect. So I think that would work out pretty well for the farming district of this area. All right, now the last thing I want to do is I do want to fill in a little bit of this space with some generic industry. After all, a lot of, if we come into our production tab, a lot of the material goods I do believe need to be produced by an actual factory. So we have now added some supplies, but then we need to get to our next step in the production chain, which is giving the supplies to a factory within our county limits to actually produce something. So I think I'm going to pull this road up here and this road over here and just create a few more unique spaces to get some industry in. I do not want to go crazy in this area, especially since, you know, if we come into our info tab, our air pollution does go down this way and then go out. So I don't want a big smog industrial area that like what we have over in Pinecrest Junction. Just something enough that will work. So we'll do that for now. Let's get some industry zoning in here. And we will let this build up and play a little game of whack the growables to make sure that what moves in actually should produce what we need for material goods. All right, so I'm still fighting with 2 buildings right here. That one we can actually like, I do want that as food. But if we come in here, we can see that for the most part, we have food. Well, we did have food in all the different places. I'm getting the feeling that no matter how many times I try to whack these, they're going to just come back and upgrade to whatever they want. So while I would love to get more specific farm related industry in here, we're going to have to probably make do with what we have. So as a part of today's build, I was looking forward to making some man-made lumber production. And I think what I'd like to do is actually create 2 of them. Create one over here that maybe is a little bit more in line with the natural forest that exists. And then a huge one over here to, 1, buffer the space between this suburban area of Pinecrest Junction, and 2, man-made, because we don't have a natural forest here. So let's start with creating a man-made forest industry. And I'm going to be using 2 items for this. The first one is obviously I'm going to plant some trees, and then I'm going to use the new tree age tool that came with the detailer's patch to create rows of trees. Now, I am going to use the mod for the straight line mode mod. That was a tongue tie moment. Just to kind of get everything in a row. Because the idea behind this is coming in and just literally creating a row of trees and then putting our industry right over it. So let's start by coming in with just a small alleyway right here to start. So that we have a point of where we're going to place our first industry and then coming into the line tool and then just creating a line of spruce trees. We'll start with spruce. Now what we should be able to do, if we come into our natural resources, we have resources now, for a lack of better words. So if I come in now with our specialized industry, we should be able just to chop these trees. So let's put this on in. And I'm gonna just kind of notate where it's at because I do want to make some bigger areas. So I'll probably draw some more lines in as well. Let's do that real quick first. So we want to kind of come up to right here if we want to really be able to capitalize on the area. So we'll draw this up to here, and that's where we will end this particular company's space. And we'll create little areas just like this throughout the space that we have here. awesome. So I think that's pretty good for a final product right there. I do think I'm gonna get just the teensiest bit of additional generic zoning in this area right here. So I think we will just put one office building right here and one factory right there. Perfect. So I think that little bit of generic zoning will go quite a long way. I did fill the rest of this in just with forest because, again, I want to buffer this area from Pinecrest Junction. All right, so I think we are in a pretty good area for a brief beautifying the build time lapse. I want to decorate this area up here a little bit, and I might rethink this area here. So let's jump on into that beautifying the build time lapse and see what we can create. So before we wrap up for today, I do actually think this area deserves its own name. And I think we're going to pull Pinecrest Junction in a little bit. So let's come on in here, grab our tools. like the name of Brightwater Acres. Let's rename this to Pine Grove to kind of act like an extended, like rural area to Pinecrest Junction. Alrighty everyone, I think that just about wraps up today's episode. Today we created a new town called Pine Grove just north of Pinecrest Junction with vast farmlands and a man-made lumber industry. Next week we will begin providing Pine Grove with services and a population, so if you're excited to see us continue this rural build, hit that like button and let me know your favorite part of today's episode down in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We post Cities Skylines episodes every Thursday and Manor-Lords episodes every Monday. Alrighty guys, until next time, I hope everyone has a phenomenal week.